The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the technical issue that we face just now. Now, shall we actually proceed with our presentation by Dr. Chua? But before he continue, let me just intercept a little to inform everyone that actually we have today actually exceeded the number of people that the system can accommodate. So right now, I think we have just now we have about 150 people online, and those who want to come in later, I think we were not able to come in at the later time. So we will make the slides and the video and make available to them. And also at the same time, there are questions that you can ask, and also you can raise your hand when you are in between. So I think we will take your cue, and of course, in necessary, we will allow you to speak. The organizer will allow you to speak. All right. So Dr. Chua, can you hear me? Dr. Chua?
Mr. Tiong, yes. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, okay. Let me try to put it back. Okay. Everyone. Okay. I hope everyone can see the screen, because looking at the audience view, that's the screen there. Okay. So thank you very much for logging back in. That's a good thing, and I'm sorry for the technical errors. Not so sure what happened, but let's probably continue on from here. And so let me just go through back again. So let's rewind where we are previously. All right. So basically, what I've just shown you here, or what I've been showing you earlier, before we got cut off, is that this is actually what you can achieve through level 1, right? You really want to be able to generate data from machines. And when we talk about machine data generation, right, we don't just want to look at machines that are new, machines that are high-tech with technologies and so on. Because there's a lot of times where we spoke to many industries that we want to actually upgrade our legacy machines, right, our older machines that really want to generate data from those machines. So there are many ways to generate data, right? You have a PLC base or you have a non-PLC base. So what we are showing to you here is actually one way of a non-PLC based approach, where you can actually collect data from your legacy machines, like turbulent signals. You can actually look your machine current status. You can actually start to develop alerts and trigger notifications if your machine is down, and you're actually able to timestamp it and so on. So that's where data generation comes about. It is a collection of data from your machines or your equipment to actually give you some form of information that you have not yet gotten in a very long run, right? Sometimes a lot of data that you collect, right, is all manual. It's written on papers, and it's okay, right? You have writing on papers and maybe sometimes on the whiteboard, but what we want to achieve is all this data, right? It's transparent, it's collected on the go, so you don't have additional people trying to collect data for you. There's no inconsistency, and there's no room for error. That's probably the word to use, and that's where data generation comes about. Now, when you start to collect data, right, what you want to achieve later on is you want to be able to store it, right? You want to be able to store those data, and this data, when it's being stored, you want it to either store it on the premise or you want to store it in the cloud. So this diagram that you see here is basically an interface where we accommodate level 2 and level 3 together, right? So you store the data inside the database, and what happens in this platform is that it's actually pulling data from the database to your visualization platform, right? So this platform actually pulls that data from the database. It looks at the machine status monitoring, and as you can see here, on the right is actually your power consumption. So we're actually monitoring, daily power consumptions on the right-hand side. And of course, on the left-hand side, we look at the current temperature, right? So if you actually turn on the heater, therefore your power consumption will go up, right? You are turning on something, there will be a peak, and then once you reach a steady state, it will actually go down. So then when we look at this kind of information, we can actually tell us what is actually happening to your system, right? And this information, because it's being stored, right, depending on your retention period, you can actually pull back this data again and look at the overall trend over time, right? And from there, that's when you can start to look at what we call as level 4, right? So level 4 and level 5 is actually where your data formulation comes in, right? So you want to look at data formulation when you put all your information together, right? You actually generate what we call as equation of effectiveness, what I shared with you earlier, your OEE. And from there, when you get to see your real-time power consumption monitoring, you can actually put them together into monitoring your actual daily production, total power consumed, right? You put all together to see your total power consumed. And when you look at real-time environment temperature and humidity monitoring systems, that's when you can start to see a trend, right, in a particular environment. For example, if you are really looking at a very tight, secure kind of environment, maybe for F&B or maybe pharmaceutical, right? Temperature and humidity is a key importance, right? That kind of control is a key importance. So, for example, you are able to see that, okay, if you open the door multiple times, then I see maybe the temperature starts to drop, humidity starts to drop because there are many frequent movement within the space, right? So that's when you need to apply the right control strategies. And when you talk about temperature and humidity monitoring within a particular environment, for example, food or pharmaceutical, if your key parameters are out, right, you actually affect your whole production quality. Okay, it is already a quality problem. And what is the frequency of you taking this temperature and humidity? Right, most of the time it's laborious, right? You go to the meter on the wall and then you start to write down, every hour this is the temperature, every hour this is the humidity. What if there's a error in that measurement? Or what if within that hour span there was actually a spike but we never knew, right? So that kind of information needs to be there, and how you can collect it, you store it, and then you formulate it, right? These are the ways that you formulate it. And of course, eventually what you can do with all this real-time data collection, you can actually push it for data analytics, which you can do stream or batch analytics, which we will implement it to our systems very soon. So this is actually what we showcase in our factory, right? We have an actual smart factory, which is open for the community, it's open for industries to come and visit. Unfortunately, at the moment, because of the MCO period, we are not able to run any tours. Basically, this is what we have in our space. So looking at all these platforms, right, and all these definition of levels from level 1 to level 5, you actually start to think that, okay, maybe this is looks a bit complicated, even though it breaks down. Where am I really going to start? Where can I really kickstart my journey in a very, very easy manner, right? Without having a lot of upfront cost involved. And I really want to understand how to actually do it at a very, very fast pace, right? So basically, these kind of platforms, right? When you look at level 1 to level 5, what you intend to achieve is the whole custom-built application kind of platform. And this is actually not very difficult to achieve. I can assure you that with the right information and the right training, I would say that's where you can actually achieve these kind of custom-built applications. For example, this dashboard that you see, it has machine status control, machine process time, real-time OEE, you have email alerts monitoring, you have user authentication access control, which we actually put in facial recognition inside with one of our partners. You have data storage capabilities, and these kind of platforms are ready to scale up at any time. And basically what we intend to achieve or to support industries is we want to try to encourage them to look at custom-built applications for them through talent development, which I'll share with you how. And this actually enables what we call as zero to low cost digital transformation, right? So if you look back at the level 5 level of strategies, right, and you tell me that, okay, where do I want to start this journey? Where do I want to kickstart the journey in industry 4? Is it going to be expensive? Is it going to be very difficult to really kickstart? And I will share with you here, right in this diagram, okay, which I've added some of the software platforms available, which you can actually go and start to explore today, right? You can already start to explore today all these platforms that I show you on this screen, okay, which the slides will be shared, I think, eventually. Start to explore these platforms, and you will find that it is not difficult to start your journey, right? In fact, you can probably start it tomorrow, right? As long as you start looking at the platforms, you can start playing around with it. And once you understand what this platform does for you, that's when you can actually start to plan out and kickstart your journey in Industry 4.0. So these platforms that I shared with you earlier, and these are the platforms that we actually cover in terms of the 5 levels of maturity levels that I shared with you earlier, right? It's all in our programs that we deliver at SHRDC. So if you look at level 1 to level 5, okay, including level 0.5, because this particular program actually gives a more in-depth overview of the enabling technologies. So it's more in-depth than what we have today in terms of the session. So if you run through this program, that's where you are, 0.5, because you're having the very technical overview of the awareness part. You understand the technologies involved. And once you do that, the next part is data generation. You need to understand how to generate data, and that's where our program called data generation helps you with that to achieve level 1. So once you achieve level 1, the next step is moving on to data logging, which is your data storage, right? And visualization. So that's level 2 and 3. And when you have all this information, you're actually able to visualize, you store it. The next step is actually looking at data formulation, which we have a program called OEE for Smart Factory, and that's when we actually cover all the data formulation strategies for Smart Factory. When you look at data analytics, that's level 5. Once you collect enough data, you have the data formulation part, and that's where you come in, which is level 5 in terms of data analytics. And from there, you're actually able to already cover all the way from level 1 to level 5, and those are actually programs that are actually available in SHRDC. We basically build it in terms of a modular and flexible and scalable kind of platforms for integration of technology. So that's how seamless the whole fast, flexible, scalable platform that I shared with you earlier actually works around. So now some may think that, okay, if I go for training, really, what can I achieve? What kind of impact, can I do for my company, right? And really, we actually run this as a test, right? We actually do it with industries that come for our programs, right? We talk about the concept of training to implementation, right? So this is actually a kickstart success story, right? There's a company that they identify a technical team to adopt Industry 4.0. It starts with that. They identify the talent development program they need. They come and talk to us. We recommended level 1, right? So they reskill and upskill their workforce, right? They assign a team to work on a Kickstarter project. Okay, usually the best way to actually look at adoption of technologies is actually to start small projects. You don't want to go too big and then everyone starts to get overwhelmed and then they cannot start anything. So we want to start with a small Kickstarter project. And that's where we start to look at collection of data from machines, right? You want to look at machine downtime, status, and performance. And basically, the project is completed within a very short period of time. And what they were able to do is they were able to collect and monitor data from legacy machines, which are older machines, right? And they get to see the machine downtime performance. Now, one important concept of this is that when you start to train your own staff, that's when your staff gets to get some ownership. You have ownership over your software developed. And of course, the software that you develop has to be scalable and flexible to any other platforms that you want to invest in later on. So assuming that there are a lot of other platforms out there and you really want to scale up later on, so that's where if you have ownership over your own development within your factory, you're actually able to integrate all these technology available regardless of the brand, right? It's brand neutral. So, and because of the open communication protocol concept, that's where you can easily integrate to any platforms in the future, and it's not just limited to you. It's open for everybody. So basically, what we are proposing, or the concept that we are sharing, is basically helping industries to build a sustainable digital transformation within their factory, right? So where you come in is industry-driven training and talent development. That's where we go. And you can reskill and upskill your staff. You integrate or implement your technologies. What happens next is that you actually develop your own in-house talents, and basically you're developing your future subject matter experts within your factory, right? You want them to be an expert in implementing the technology. You want them to understand and own whatever developments you have within the factory. So once they're able to adapt, you know, they have a bit, you have a bit more R&D work coming in. When there's a technology change, you know, economic changes like what we're having now, you know, changes in job skills required, you know, you can come in and do the same kind of process again, where you have training and development going in for your staff, and you have ownership towards your programs, and that's where you are actually able to build that kind of sustainable loop of digital transformation. So if today Industry 4.0 is here and the next stage, you know, of technology comes in, we are not going to be stuck anymore, because your staff already understand the technology very, very deeply. They know how to integrate things, and that's where you can actually build a very sustainable ecosystem from here. So this is where SHRDC, the Selangor Human Resource Development Center, and the Malaysian Smart Factory together, we support the industries and the community as a technology hub and talent development center. So if you can see in this diagram, we are doing Industry 4.0 technology training and development. Our platform, if you have a chance to see, it is a learning platform where we have a lot of technologies in place together with a lot of our partners, right? We have a lot of technology partners on board, some globally, some are local partners, meaning local technology partners, which are very, very good. We do proof of concepts and lighthouse projects, depending on what's the situation post-training. And of course, our platform is actually a live demonstration of technology. So if you come to our lab or our space, you actually can see how different technologies are integrated regardless of the platforms that you use. It is brand independent. Basically, we are able to integrate all throughout the same communication protocol. And that's how the integration of technologies come to play. So we cover all the areas of OT, IT, and digital factory, as you can see from the diagram over here. And what we are actually exploring soon, you know, or what is coming soon, which I think you should stay tuned, is that we are going to have launch a digital training platform for industries and the community, where you can actually do training online as much as possible, or where applicable. And those Industry 4.0 training programs will eventually be up online, and you can actually do your training as much as possible remotely, given the current situation of the social distancing methodologies in place. So that's where we are really ready to support the industries in this digital training platform. And this is a work in progress. It should be launched soon. And definitely what we will share with you is that during these MCO activities, you know, what you can do to actually start your journey, right, with SHRDC is that you can start to look at some documentations that are already available out there. For example, this is PC, right? You can actually see some topics on Industry 4.0 there. You can actually understand all the technologies and concepts available. Now, you can also look at our training programs, which is what I've shown to you just now, level 1 to level 5. What are the programs that we actually deliver to cover that? And what I will say is that during this period, right, during this time when we work from home, or, you know, as much time as we have possible, you know, check in with us, stay connected with us, you know, and really stay tuned for some of our new digital training programs that will be made applicable and available for every industries that are out there. And really check in with us to actually chat and see how we can actually support you through this Industry 4.0 journey, right? So before I go into the heavy question and answer sessions that will probably come in very, very soon, I have a question for everyone, right? Which is something that you need to think about. You need to think about who is really going to start my journey towards Industry 4.0. This is a question that you need to ask yourself and also your company, right? So is it your CEO that's going to kickstart it? Is it your CTO, you know, your Chief Technology Officer, or is it your Chief Innovation Officer, the CIO, or your Chief Operating Officer, right? All these are top management level. Or is it C19 or COVID-19 that is going to really kickstart your journey? Hope is not COVID that's starting your journey. And in fact, what I hope for is that, you know, the journey of Industry 4.0 really comes back or begins with the people and the organization, right? It's not just your top management that needs to put things together. It is the whole people and organization kind of a culture that you need to develop within your company. So it all starts with leadership commitment, right? You need to understand what are the technologies involved, how to actually go and build that Industry 4.0 roadmap for your organization. All right. Then the next part is you need to identify a roadmap and a culture for your people in your organization, where you identify change ambassadors, you fix quick win projects to kickstart your journey. You have a big picture, but you have smaller blocks, right? You go deeper down into the small blocks of technology, right, that you want to implement, and you set up teams to actually kickstart those projects, right? Empower them to really do it, because that's where the motivation of people comes into play. And once you identify all that, that's when workforce and talent readiness is important. You can identify and implement a comprehensive learning roadmap for all levels, and you equip them with the relevant essential and technical skills available, which are critical for Industry 4.0. And that's where we are able to support you in this area. So if any case, if you do need any support, that's where we come in to help start your journey with the people and the organization. So with that, I will end my presentation for today. If you have any questions involved with regards to the technical side, or even in terms of how SHRDC can support you, please feel free to ask any questions now, or you can of course take down my contact details here. I have left my email address and also my LinkedIn profile account. So stay connected, get in touch with me, and we'll be very happy to share with you all how you can really start your journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chua. I think you have done a good job in trying to deliver a very difficult subject about the importance of predictive maintenance and how the various steps of going about achieving that. Of course, I think the area of emphasis, I think here now, is how the various level that they have to go through for any company from level 1 until level 5. So I think the very first step obviously is to go into level 1 first. So now for companies who want to go into this area, how would they able to start this? Let's say, for example, if they want to attend the training on the SHRDC, how can they start this, Dr.
Chua? Definitely, our data generation program is already available. In fact, that is a program that is actually supported by HRDF as an insert certification program. So industries that are HRDF contributors, there is a certain partial grant subsidy for that. So if you are keen to actually start the journey in terms of data generation, that's where they can come in as well. And we are actually working on launching it as an online training program. So that sort of helps out in terms of the training, the social distancing methodologies or measures in place that we have put in for the participants to give them assurance that you can still learn effectively even at this period of time.
Okay, good. So ladies and gentlemen, I think you are able to actually pose a question through the chat bar, as well as, of course, you can raise your hand. I think there's a hand button there on your right hand corner. So if you raise a hand, I think we will unmute you and then allow you to speak and ask a question. All right. So beginning of this time, can you? We still have some time left before we will close this. Of course, just now we were very sorry for this technical glitch that we faced just now. And okay, there's one question coming in here from Mr. Lau. It says that IR4 is an interesting topic, but I believe most of the industry facing problem in level 1, which is data generation phase, especially for legacy machine. Can I know more about node rate, how the transition works? Dr. Chua, maybe you can answer this.
Sure, no problem. So generally, let me go back to the slide. Okay, let's go from here. So generally, how node rate is able to support that. In our data generation program, we work with gateways. We call it gateways, which actually collects, or they are data acquisition box that collects data from sensors of the machine, whether is it analog or digital, right? So in this program of data generation, we actually utilize a hardware that actually collects data from a machine without affecting the PLC operations. So what we do basically is we do signal tapping, right? And how node rate actually helps to support a very seamless integration is that because a lot of times when we work with some of our participants for training, most of them may not have a certain knowledge in terms of PLC programming, right? Programmable logic controllers. They don't have that knowledge, but at the same time, they want to skill themselves, right? And to collect data from PLCs can be extensive. So this data generation program helps you to pull out data using node RED, which are basically all in, basically it's block diagram based, right? You have nodes, and these nodes are prefixed to pull data out through their data acquisition ports, right? So you have digital ports, you have analog ports. So all you need to do is you need to learn how to integrate, you know, the system. You need to know how to pull out that data, and you need to know how to visualize it. And node RED does the data acquisition or collection part, and it directly translates it to you in a dashboard concept. So how you will see it in terms of your first data generation program is what you will see exactly in this screen over here. Right? So basically, we are pulling information from your power light signals. And of course, we start to teach you how to do alert triggers and mobile app alert notifications. So this is actually what we cover roughly in the data generation program. Temperature monitoring and power consumption is basically these analog kind of signals acquisition. So this part we don't really cover in this program, but at least what we cover is that we will teach you how to connect sensors to your gateway and collect the data from there. So this is how we do it for legacy machines.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chua. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Lau. And of course, I think Mr. Lau also at the same time wanted to know is, Dr. Chua, you did mention about some showcase for this IR4. So I think maybe you can highlight a little bit more about where's the location, where can, is that in SHRDC or is there a working factory environment? Yeah.
So at SHRDC, we actually have we set up an assembly line process. As you can see, this is actually a dashboard that we use to monitor our own assembly line. So we actually set up an assembly line and some of the other technologies integrated in place. The smart factory is located at Shanglam, Pusat Perniagaan worldwide. So if you do want to come and drop by and to see or have a tour of the smart factory, you're more than welcome to get in contact with us, and we'll try to arrange something post MCO period.
Okay. All right. Looks like there are more questions coming.
Yep.
Okay. There's this question that asks from Mr. Injik Adham. It says that are there any incentive by the state government for companies looking to engage with subject matter experts to begin implementation of level 1 to level 5 at their facilities? So I think maybe in this case, I think obviously they are already the way to go about. Obviously, it's to go for readiness assessment. I think as you are already aware, I think under the industry forward plan, government is encouraging, especially the small SMEs, to actually go for readiness assessment. So once they have gone through the readiness assessment, obviously they can apply for approval for intervention fund to actually assist them to move forward in Industry 4. All right.
Yep.
So, all right. So I hope that answers your question. So now we have one more from Inche Zakaria, which asks, what is the best layman-friendly platform to do predictive maintenance and data analytics? Layman.
Layman.
Okay.
Okay. So so generally, let's go to this slide. Okay. So generally, a lot of times people talk about data analytics, right? People usually incorporate or relate it to very programming centric, like Python, that does data analytics, and a lot of coding involved. So platforms that I've shared with you here, as much as possible, what we do is we train with platforms that are minimal coding kind of requirements, right? Minimal coding requirements meaning to say that you don't need to have very thorough knowledge in R or Python to actually do analytics, right? There are platforms like Nine or Dataiku, which actually are available for you. You can actually use these platforms to actually start your data analytics journey because these platforms are actually drag and drop. right? You just drag and drop the modules, similar to Node-RED. You do not drag and drop, right? Now platforms are becoming more and more easy to integrate, where it's all drag and drop kind of methods. And all you need to do is how to use the nodes or the drag and drop modules to actually start your data analytics portion. And it's not very difficult to implement. I would say that you can even go to NIME website today, and you can actually download that and get a hands-on feel on the platform, because all these platforms are openly driven. That means they are community driven, and being community driven, it actually helps a lot in terms of the development of the platform and the development of the nodes or workspace or work libraries that you can actually download, and you can actually look at it and modify it from your end. So basically, you are sort of integrating it all together, and you're improving on versions that already pre-existed. So we always bear in mind when we do training, we always bear in mind what are the target audience that we have? Are they very computer science or computer programming centric? But in most industries are not at that level, right? You have a lot of mechanical engineers, you may have chemical engineers, which have never experienced, or they may not have that much level of coding experience in their previous degree. So bearing that in mind, that's why platforms like this are easily adaptable. And I would say that if you want to start your journey into analytics towards predictive maintenance, these are platforms that you can readily use, and you can try it out on your own even today, right? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chua. I think there's another new question coming in. What is the implementation stage of IR4 currently in Malaysia? Is there any data info of this status of implementation? Oh, I think that's a tough question to answer, I suppose. Dr. Chua, you have able to provide anything on this?
The only part that we can, the only part that we can share is like most of the industries that we have worked with or we have met with in factories, we are more SME driven, right? Most of them are SMEs, and most are at the stage where they need to collect data, right? They have many legacy machines because they've been operating for quite some time. Their machines are old, but I would say they are still gold, right? They are still very, very good. They are built to be robust. And all they need is some help to actually collect some information to really kickstart their journey. So I won't have exactly all the reports with regards to industries that have implemented this, but I would say that with the we do have quite a number of participants that join our programs, especially data generation, given that it is an insert program. So and some industries that I shared with you earlier, for example, this Kickstart success story is what the industries have shared with us that they have implemented it in their systems, right? So we do have some success story from training to implementation. So basically what they learn in our programs, they can actually directly integrate it once they go back. But all of this also requires a lot of commitment from the top management, right? So projects like this requires a top-down approach, right? You need to have leadership commitment, and once you understand that this is the roadmap that you will take, then these are the small quick win projects that you can actually work with in your factory. And that's where you can actually showcase at least the start of a data generation, which then, when you look at the overall level of maturity, you slowly build upon that. Yeah. So sorry, I don't have a lot of reports on success story because some are confidential for some industries. So I can only share with you a very brief overview of the people that we have met and we have talked to.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chua. I think maybe I have got some information from Maida, perhaps maybe useful for some of you. Okay, this is information I received as at February. There are altogether about more than 600 companies has already gone through for the government-funded readiness assessment, and of which now about 107 companies has already been approved by the technical committee. All right, so with that, I think right now, Maida has also received about 35 applications for the intervention fund. And it seems that 2 companies has been approved. So I think that's a progress as far as the industry forward plan is concerned. All right, so I think Dr. Chua has mentioned, highlighted just now the importance of top management, and the whole company should be involved when it comes to Industry 4. So I think I on behalf of MEPN, especially Working Group number 1, I would like to urge business owners, especially in the machinery and equipment subsector, to actually come forward and understand what we are doing under MEPN, and if possible join our program, because we have many programs rolling out, focusing on not just talent development, on training, but also about how the industry need to know more about the way to, if they are interested to export, to go into export market, so how we can help the SMEs and all that. So there are a lot of programs in the pipeline. I hope, in fact, I'm asking, taking this opportunity to ask all business owners to come forward. And then, in fact, we have a website in MPC as well as MERF, try to understand what we are doing. All right. So with that, I will now take on one more question from. Is there anyone here right now? I think there's the last question just now where we have answered. So maybe with that, I think Dr. Chua, I have got some questions here, because I see that a lot of SME maybe they have limited budget, right? So obviously, if they want to go for this training and all that, because when you talk about level 1 until level 5, I believe it is spread across many days, and of course also involve maybe many people in the company. So how does this program, how do you make this program more cost effective for SME especially? Maybe you can elaborate a little more.
Yep. So I would say that when we look at the overall programs that we deliver, yes, of course, the programs that we deliver are basically they are chargeable. Okay, but along the way, I think we are working closely with some government agencies and also HRDF to look into application of grants for training programs, which we are working on. And of course, at this moment of time, we have data generation as one of our insert programs, and also OEE as one of our insert programs. So these programs basically are still there. You can check out our website for the next available date. And basically, if you're keen to explore, you can get in touch with us, and we will let you know on the next available date to start. So how is this cost effective for SMEs? Or at least this pathway is cost effective for SMEs. Basically, if you look back at this diagram again, when you do the training and you do the development, what happens is that you are upskilling your staff. And when you upskill your staff, you are actually building subject matter experts in your factory. You're actually giving them ownership over the whole implementation of Industry 4.0. They are the key team that will implement these technologies in your factory. And basically, when they start to implement, right, this stage where they start to implement the projects, right, and they successfully complete them, right, it is just an easy approach of taking whatever that they have currently that they have implemented and duplicating it or replicating it for other machines, right? Because the method of data generation and the background dashboard that you have already developed, it is very seamlessly integratable to other machines. All you need to do is you need to copy, you need to replicate the same kind of concepts for every other machine. So basically from there, you actually start to lower down your cost of implementation. So your upfront cost to actually start is actually lowered down. So what are the costs involved then for you to really kickstart? Number one is your hardware cost, right? It's something that we cannot run away, because hardware is something that you need to actually acquire or generate data. And of course, the cost of training. But when you invest in training, you invest in the people. And the people, when they are skilled up, they are able to give you a better overview, and they know how to integrate the technologies later on, which actually benefits your company in the long run. Because the next few phases of Industry 4.0, when you start to scale up, I think the question will be, when you start to scale up, how do you bring down your costs when you are scaling up as well? You don't want to increase your costs as you scale up rapidly, or when you don't want to put an exorbitant upfront kind of cost when you want to scale up. So having people that are skilled and having them as subject matter experts help you to scale up further and duplicate it for many other lines. So if you look at this diagram again, when you start to build that subject matter expertise, they are able to integrate it seamlessly for you. All they need to do is probably identify the quick win projects, and build upon that. So on our end, that's how we help SMEs to really start their journey. So hardware cost varies. It really depends on what you need, what spec you require. The hardware that we use to demonstrate data generation, for example, is less than 3,000 ringgit. And that actually shows how you can actually start your journey very, very seamlessly. You just need to know how all these concepts are connected, get your staff skilled, they know what to do, and then start a project. So when you start a project, you identify all the key issues that you have. You can talk to us, and we are more than happy to help you along the way through all our programs that we have.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chua. So I have another question here about using technology, because I think we are still in the midst of this COVID-19, as well as I think even after the MCO be lifted, I think social distancing will still be required, I think for a long time, I think maybe up to a year or more. So I think right now, I think how remote training, how online training, maybe theoretical part is easy, but what about the practical part? Because I think if you want to train someone on industry 4, obviously they have to have some hands-on, and they have to have if they test the program and does it work and all that. So how were they able to do it during this remote under the current situation where we need to practice social distancing?
Yeah. So basically, our strategy is more towards migrating as much as we can, fundamental and software related, all online. And when we talk about hardware software integration, that's where we actually starting this process of what we call as remote access training. So basically, what we'll have are stations which are hardware connected and there are cameras connected, and therefore you can actually see what are the software or hardware kind of integration happening live in your screen. So that's basically taking training to the next level, where you do remote access training. Of course, situations such as wiring, right? You need to do wiring, you need to do networking. So there are areas where we are actually exploring other methods of identification of evidence for them to participate in training. But other than that, remote access training will enable the situation beyond simulation, right? So we are looking at integrating the hardware directly. Okay, so those are stations that we will set up for people to access, right, during the training program, and therefore you're able to actually see live what is happening to your program that you have uploaded onto machines that you want to test with. So that is basically the next level of strategy which we will have, and this will be part of our digital training platform. So if you stay connected with us, we will definitely share with you when is the next launching date of the digital training platform, and that's where we will advise on all the programs that are available for you to kickstart that journey at a very, very seamless space.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Chua. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think let's just watch out for this program that I think we are going to roll out together with SHRDC under MEPN, part of the MEPN program, which we talk about how to utilize this a live demo and remote accessibility to training in the pipeline. All right, so I think we have another question coming out from this Jan. I hope it's Pei Sun Yu. I think it's she, I suppose. She said that we are in the energy tech solution startup with AI data analytics skill who would like to join NMSF, Smart Factories bandwagon to technical assessor in pushing through adoption of Industry 4. Is there any incentive available for technical assessors, subject matter experts? Dr. Chua, are you in the position to answer this question? Perhaps maybe if you talk about incentives, so I think we have to refer to the government. So I think the best is to contact us through either to MEPN or FTC. I think I'm quite sure we are able to link you up if you are a subject matter expert in some field. So obviously, I think we're able to link you up. Yeah, please contact us after this. Yeah, through email or Okay, any more questions from the audience? We are almost close to our wrapping up. I think we have another 5 more minutes. Okay, I may have one more question here. Is we asked from Diana Daniel. She asked, please advise the estimate cost required to fully implement the course. So I believe here, I suppose it's training. I hope it's just about training. So look, perhaps Dr. Chua, you may want to answer this question. I think implementation will be difficult to estimate, because I think if you talk about really implementation, someone has to do a study, and you know, each company's are different, so it's difficult to give you a cost right now. I suppose if you just talk about training, I think it's perhaps Dr. Chua can advise.
So like what Mr. Tiong has shared, definitely it's very difficult to estimate the overall cost of upgrading per company. Okay, because it really depends on what is the process involved in that particular industry, right? And what are the sensors or information that you really need throughout the whole shop floor operational technology that you need to implement, right? So one thing that I can share is more on the cost to kickstart and to scale up. So generally, if you kickstart, if you do more of a training program, or you upskill your workforce, right? You prepare them for integration of these technologies. So what they can do for you eventually is they will help you to reduce your cost of implementation when they scale up to different levels of your factory. So given the scenario where you have a development team in your factory, so assume you have a development team, right? You have a production and you have a development team. So your development team actually looks at all these innovation projects. They look at how to integrate all this technology. They come up with proof of concepts. And once they are actually able to qualify, or they buy off that particular line or process, they know that this process is legit, then they pass it to production. And when they pass it to production, that's when you actually get to scale up from there. So meaning to say that you have to allocate innovation teams or development teams within your factory. And that's where you are able to scale up at a more cost-effective rate. And one thing that you can be sure is that with the upskilling of people and with your workforce readiness, they are actually ready to integrate these technologies later on. And when they see daily running production, when they see their software or hardware integration being tested, that's where they can improve further on it, and that's how they can replicate further at a very cost-effective rate. Now, when it comes to training programs, of course, what you can do during this period is you can download our training program booklet over here, or you can download our training calendar. That actually provides you with information on the cost of the programs, and whether some of the programs that we have already been submitted for grant approvals, like insert. So those information are there in our website and also in our brochure. So if you look on the right side of this slide here, you have the links to all our websites available, and our website will contain all this information for you. And do get in touch with us, and we'll work out something which fits your company.
Okay, we have another question here, Dr. Chua, from Mohammed Hanafia. He asked the question: what's the difference between role of SHRDC, PSDC, and HRDF in the field of in Industry 4? Okay, maybe Dr. Chua.
So SHRDC and PSDC, we are part of the Federation of Malaysian Skill Development Center. So we are Skills Development Center as a whole. And HRDF is actually the agency under the ministry which governs the Human Resource Development Fund. So basically, they are the ones who manage your HRDF levy, right? And of course, when they collect all the levy, they will also look into providing some form of incentives, I would say incentive, for HRDF contributors. So it's two different entities altogether. However, we work together to deliver skills development, and that's where training comes into play. So all our programs, for example, they are HRDF claimable, right? So if you have a HRDF account, and you contribute to levy, that's where you can actually use your levy amount, right, to contribute to your training program. Because your amount in your levy, there is an expiration period. So I think that is something you need to take note of. to actually make sure that you maximize the utilization of your levy, right? And of course, you can also work with associations to actually share with HRDF, for example, like, okay, these are the set of training that you really want. How can they support you? And I think agencies like MPC, MEPN, they're very, very open to suggestions on how we can help industries to kickstart their journey in Industry 4.0 at a very, very cost-effective manner.
Okay, Dr. Chua, I think we are coming to the final question here from Mr. Anthony Ng of MIT Academy. I think
Yes.
he would like to ask a question that they said the MIT Academy has already have the learning and content management system, which is on a digital platform that is already available. So I think for remote learning. So we would like to see whether is it possible to collaborate with you with SHRDC in this area, because I think they have already got about 200 allocated space for this training under HRDF. I think perhaps, yeah, Mr. Chua, Dr. Chua, yeah.
Yes. So, Mr. Anthony, good to hear from you. And I think that's a really good initiative. Perhaps we can get in touch after this webinar through our emails, and also I think we have gotten in touch before. So let's get in touch and we can discuss further how we can work together. Yeah.
All right. With that, I think we are coming to a close because times are up. So I would like to thank Dr. Chua and of course also all of attendees here this morning. So I hope it has been a good session. I think through the what I call interaction with all the audience, as well as I think Dr. Chua has done a good job in terms of highlighting the importance of open collaboration, of course also the integration of various technology together, of course also highlighting the level from level 1 until level 5. I think it's very clear that everyone that the journey Industry 4 is actually a journey. I think we have to start from level 1, especially in the areas of data integration. Of course, automation is obviously important because, of course, I don't know what stage are you in right now. I would say if you refer to a lot of SMEs right now, I think most of them are still at the stage of maybe 2.5 before even automation. So I think if you want to go straight away, go into Industry 4, I think you have to make sure that you have some level of automation already in place. So which means that if you are still doing a lot of manual, employ a lot of manual, I think perhaps one of the areas to look at is to see how you can reduce your dependence of manual labor. So I think automation is still important. And of course, before we talk about Industry 4. All right, with that, I think we would like to close this. And of course, my last word is MEPN is doing a lot of work. That's 4 working groups. So focusing on different areas. So you can find out, I think a lot of programs will be rolled out. I think you can go and find out what we are doing. And of course, when we approach you for any survey or whatsoever, I hope you will respond to us. I think that is important for us to know, to understand what's the difficulties or problems that you face, issue that you face. All right. So with that, I would like to close this session right now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So look forward to. Thank you.